I was already introduced where I work and my background. I will not spend the most time on that part. So I'm now a Center Director for the FME SecurEL, Center for Environment-Friendly Energy Research. There are several such centers within different fields in energy research. And this center builds on an FME called SINELDI that was running for the 8 years before 2025. In SecurEL, the vision is to secure and make a resilient and secure and sustainable power grid. The power grid will be the backbone of the energy system in a net zero emission society, because we are doing a lot of electrification now to meet the climate targets. So everything is going to be dependent on electricity, and the ambition for this center is to enable this electrification that is needed to meet the climate goals for 2030 and 2050, and also safeguarding the security of electricity supply. And you can see the energy trilemma here. You have conflicting interests between climate, energy, nature, and the economy. Is it affordable? And the security of supply that may be challenged. So there are some conflicting interests between different huge goals that we have for the future for the energy system. And the main goal here is to find a good balance between these three. And the balance may shift because there are a lot of changes and new important aspects to consider. So security of electricity supply, I'm focused on electricity and not on energy as a general, in general, but more or less the same, you could say. So to have a secure electricity supply, to have the lights, keep the lights on, and to charge the electrical vehicles and your mobile phones and so on, you need several parts to have the electricity for as the service. So you need enough energy to produce electricity. You need capacity to transport. You need the right level of quality of this voltage so that you can actually use the voltage that you get in the socket. And the last part, the reliability of supply, is about the continuity, the availability of the supply to your appliances. And in Norway, we have a very high level of reliability of supply today. It's about 99.98%. So that means we have interruptions on average 2 to 3 hours per year on average in Norway. Of course, very different, north, south, west, east. Cities, rural areas are very different, but on average. So what happens with the security of supply with all the changes? So you know that the energy system is under change because of electrification. The energy systems are being integrated, sector coupling, and so on. And also the threat situation we are considering in SecurEL is quite broad spectrum that has already been introduced, I think. The electrification itself means new stresses on the system, on the components and on the system as a whole. The digitalisation means new components that can fail. It means higher risk of cyber threats or attacks, maybe. And the climate change means more extreme weather, that the power system is very exposed to the weather. That's the main cause of electricity interruptions today in Norway. And all in all, we have a huge complexity and predictability that we need to meet for the future. And also the big background on the geopolitical tensions, sabotage, and worst case, a war like in Ukraine. So just a few examples of threats and unwanted events in 2025, as seen from the Norwegian context and partly happened in Norway. So we have had a lot of weather this year. So for example, in January, there was an intense storm with tree fall on lines. affecting the middle of Norway in this county, Trøndelag, northern part of Trøndelag. And this fall, we had the extreme weather Amy, so that was extreme. Well, the first one was not extreme weather, but it caused extreme consequences because people were without electricity for 4 hours. And that can be very critical for some. And also extreme weather Amy was critical for some people. And these kind of events, they cause huge amounts of costs for the society. We have the famous blackout in Spain and Portugal in April this year. That was 50 million people were affected, and according to the European Energy or the Transmission System Operators, NTNU, this was a new phenomenon regarding operational stresses because it was a cascading voltage increase, and this has not happened before like this and ended up in a blackout. So I think this shows us that all the changes might lead to new kind of phenomena that occurs also in the physical parts of the grid or the total system. And what is also typical nowadays is, sorry, all this is in Norwegian, but maybe many of you can understand and read it. After this occasion, there was a lot of speculation. Was it a cyber attack? No, it wasn't. Was it a specific atmospheric phenomenon? No, it wasn't. Was it the lack of inertia? No, it wasn't. Was it the renewables? Yes, that was some misinformation campaigns that want us to mislead people into and to really reduce the trust in the power systems and how to deal with the energy security regarding new renewables and so on. So these things we also need to consider. And then we have physical and digital attacks. We haven't had them yet in Norway, I think we can say, but the cyber threats, they are increasing. And this National Security Authority, they warn about the danger of sabotage. And now they say it's likely that we will have sabotage towards the energy sector in Norway. So we have been talking about the security of electricity supply on several occasions at Arendalsuka, which is a political festival in August every year. Started by talking about how vulnerable is the electricity system. What should we do to secure Norway against energy crisis? And then we have the Norway and Europe perspective about energy and welfare. And this year we made a new report about energy secure and resilient society. And then we focused on the upper part of the crisis pyramid there, about the antagonistic threats and warlike and so on. So in this report, we talk about, or we introduce some important knowledge gaps regarding vulnerabilities and resilience in the energy systems. And this report is about the power system and the offshore energy system, of offshore wind and gas, oil, and the last part about the integrated energy system, both onshore and offshore integration of all the energy systems. And there's this figure here. We cannot go into details of this, but it shows it's the conceptual model, bow tie model, explaining the relationships between the threats, the unwanted event in the middle, and the consequences to the right. And there are some barriers that can prevent a threat to lead into an unwanted event, and there are barriers to reduce the consequences if the unwanted event occurs. And there are technical, organizational, and human factors that are vulnerabilities within the energy system. And so we need to identify the vulnerabilities to reduce them. And we need to work on the resilience of the system, which is on the lower part, which is kind of the opposite of vulnerabilities. That's how we have defined it. So understand, identify, reduce vulnerabilities, and then work on building the resilience. And so we have introduced these perspectives in the report. And we all know that the power supply need to function in crisis and in peacetime. So when we're going to work with a higher spectrum of crisis, we are not used to that in Norway. So we can't say that we are prepared for that kind of events, but we need to work on that. And we need to do it holistically to see both the more normal events from extreme weather, from technical operational stress and so on, need to be seen also in conjunction with other or human intentional threats in a holistic way. And we need to understand the interdependencies between the different parts of the energy system and what can cascade into what can happen in one infrastructure, cascading into other infrastructures and so on. And for the security and the preparedness, it's important to look at the local solutions. So how can different parts of the system and different parts of the society actually restore the power supply in case of a huge crisis? Can it be done locally so that we are not dependent on the central system? And also the supply chain of materials, equipment are vulnerable because many of the large equipments come from China with several years of delivery time, for example. And we also have the critical raw materials that we need for the renewable future. So we need to look into many different aspects of this. So the answer is no to the question, but yes, because we are moving there because we are working with it. So we know what to do in terms of the knowledge gaps that we can identify and work with, and the whole society, all sectors, authorities, and so on are very concerned about these things today in Norway. So I think that brings optimistic perspectives to the whole huge challenges. So can I have just a bit more? Yeah. So the last part, I wanted just to point at this, that the security of supply should not be taken for granted. Today, we have 99.98% uptime availability of the power system. In 2004, we did the vulnerability analysis of the Nordic power system regarding extraordinary events, energy shortage and capacity shortage. We found it was medium, low. And then for Arendalsuka 2022, we looked more into it qualitatively. We did not make a whole analysis, but in qualitative terms, you could see that all these risks, they are increasing because of all the changes, both in the systems and in the threat picture, as I've already explained. So what about 2030 to 2050? There is for this sign. Utropstegn. Sorry? Exclamation mark. Yeah. So this means that we need to be concerned. But since there is a long time, many years to go, we can do something now that we can prevent something from happening in the future. And it's today that we can decide what we actually need to do and what is the right thing to do. We have to figure out, and then we can actually influence on where we are going. And then we have to look at the energy trilemma and find the right balance. So that was the last words from me. And here are all the partners in this FME center. Yeah.
Thank you, Gerd Kjølle, for this excellent presentation. Our next presenter will be Olga Usachova, postdoctoral research fellow in Science and Technology Studies, STS at NTNU. Her research focuses on the role of electricity grids and their operators in energy transitions, with a particular interest in cybersecurity challenges in smart grid development. Please, Olga, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Quickly, if anyone wants to see or hear better, there's like 5 seats available up here if anyone wants to move forward.
All right. Thank you very much for the invitation, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy that so many of you here and also online, I hope. And indeed, I guess what I will be talking actually, let's see. Yeah. Today is very much going in line what Gerd presented us today, and why I will speak about it a bit later. So today I want to talk about something that affects every one of us, our electricity, our heating, and the digital systems we rely on every day. So the question what I've been asked, and we together with Gavin asked, are we prepared for the targeted attack on our energy system? And I have to say, when I received this invitation, I didn't know how the question will be formulated exactly. So I received an invitation to speak about energy security, right? And then I was reflecting on this question, and this question of our energy system makes me very much reflecting of who is we here. So what I'm offering you today is this social perspective. Also, probably something that was bringing you today, it was widely at least advertised in LinkedIn. Somehow it appeared in parentheses my background. And I have to say, yes, I have Ukrainian background. And this is why I also reflect on this, who is we in our energy system. So to start this, I will guide you on things that probably many of you know, at least if you're following news. But I will guide you in a bit different dimension today than Norway. And I will invite you to my home country, to Ukraine. And many of you probably know it, but exactly energy sector becoming one of the most vulnerable sector, where every day we have a lot of missiles from Russia trying to destroy it in different ways. I was actually struck when I started to find any news recently what happened in the energy sector of Ukraine. It was very easy to find. Actually, every second tabloid, international and also national, was writing about it. It also means that there are a lot of focus on these energy workers and repair of these energy infrastructures. In this case, I would say even country becoming a country of constant repair. To give you more understanding what it works and how it works, this is it comes from the report from the Center of East European Studies in Vilnius in Lithuania. But here they have this aggregated number of attacks in different energy sectors. So the thing is quite huge. It's most of them big kind of balls here, we can say. It's 6+ attacks, and it's only from October 22 to January 24. And it still continues more and more. So this is how it works and looks in practice now, right? So, but just to give this things that we are talking today is somehow reality, maybe somewhere in a different place. Right. Now let's get back, and why I'm here also have this opportunity to speak is just because I part of this center that Gerd just presented now. So we are back to Norway, and I'm a postdoctoral fellow. So when I came to the SINELD, it was in 23. Center was closing its operation. It was running out of it. So and there are a lot of already research been done, and the main the focus of center was how to make grid more digital, and the flexibility issue was one of the most important. So I was feeling like, okay, so what would be my interest here in this kind of ending and transition? And I've been very much interested what's happening if how we understand the cyber dimension of it. So what is if there will be any cyber attack on the grid? So TNLD also was one of the centers presented here. Some of them are still running. So if you're interested, you can check them. And then I was kind of maybe right that I started to interested in these topics of attack, because from this year we have a new center that Gerd is leading. So there is something very timely to speak about how to make the grid secure and why. Right. So coming back to Norway, I would like to remind you how Norway looks right. So here we have a map. Maybe not very precise map, but I hope you still understand. So here we have electricity and renewable energy, how they distributed around Norway, right? Even if we don't need to see it very precisely, we see there are huge concentration of different interconnected systems, right? So, and also it's no surprise for anyone that electricity underpins many services we enjoy right now, right here. So it's heating, water, hospitals, banking system, communication, and whatever comes to your mind. So a disruption of one of these potential grid or connection quickly becomes what I call the social crisis, right? So we are trying to understand how to cope with it, what measures to take. So interconnectedness increases exposure to different cascading failures, right? So, and this is a slide what SINTEF achieved, hopefully. So how the power system look like and what the future power system will look like. So we have here potentially integration of a lot of renewable energy comes in. And then we have this dimension of prosumers, so says then the consumers and the one who produces electricity becomes sort of one, and we have ideally this picture. But I will also invite you to understand where we stand today, right? So where the Norway is. So we have a high level of digitalization, and also Norway has a lot digital strategy, where I say it's one of the most digitalized country in the world. But this also creates a wider arena for the cyber attack or surface for this. Then we have also strong dependence on automation, right? So as Gerd already pointed before me, we have a lot of sensors, what makes the grid smart, and then the question from where these sensors comes and with what intention they are developed. So we also have limited public awareness and household preparedness. We starting to speak at it later, maybe last 2 years, I would say more intensely, but still we are just speaking, and I'm not sure if we all know what to do if we have power outage for different reasons. As well, we have cross-border interconnections very strongly. So the energy security is not stopping on the national border. Right, so, and this all coming from also reports produced by different bodies in Norway. So this is just to illustrate you the evolution of cyber attacks on energy infrastructure. So we have at least from 2010, so they are developed and they're still developing. If you are more interested on this, I invite you to read this beautiful literature review on how it developed. But this is just to show you that it's something real. But also, Gerd just told in your presentation that Norway yet not experienced any particular crisis on energy infrastructure and so on. Well, I don't know, but I found this kind of controversy. It's not, that's why I call it controversy, because I'm not sure if it's, there are a lot of things. Then there was this Russian hackers says control Norwegian dam. For the first time, it was that it was a hydro dam, then it was fish production factory and so on. Well, anyway, but this is something real, and this is something happening now. Right. In all this, coming to the point, I very much invite you to think with me about this human sector as a mediating link, right? So we also know events like in August 2014, nearly 50 companies in oil and energy sector were exposed to the cyber attack. So this attack was a large coordinated intrusion campaign, revealed significant exposure across different sectors, right? So, and it's also demonstrated that there is no actor in the value chain. The value chain is too small to matter. So there are a lot of suppliers, and contractors that electricity system is so broad, and so we cannot take it as one entity. So it also shows that how sophisticated attacks often begin with mundane actions. That also was the use of just USB drive or USB device. So what this example illustrates is how everyday routines, for example, charging your phone, sharing files, transferring data offshore, and so on, can open doors to attackers. Then we have also systemic risk and supply chain vulnerabilities, but this is already kind of been covered. But I also would like also to maybe emphasize here that energy production is a complex system that relies on mix of different suppliers, contractors, and digital service providers. And these vulnerabilities in the small subcontractors can compromise major operators, right? So attention here should be directed, in my view, to two different things. So one is the individual or user cybersecurity, right? And then another one is a system-wide resilience. So maybe in the one of the system-wide resilience, we are already there, or soon we will be there. But I guess this individual or user cybersecurity is not yet quite addressed. So, but why this all matters for Norway, right? So first, we need to remember that attacks is not something hypothetical and happening somewhere in Ukraine or somewhere out of the national borders of Norway. It's very much here. And these attacks also have people who stay behind these attacks, right? So the complex energy system increased exposure to these global cyber threats. So what is needed is rather this reinforced need for coordinated preparedness, and not only technical, but also organizational and social. And then answer the question, or maybe try to answer the question, as it's very complex. So are we prepared? Right. So, and I would say preparedness is not just about firewalls, encryption, or backup generators. It is very much about the communication, trust, cooperation, and community resilience. Right. So, a targeted attack on energy system will always test technology, but it also will test us, ordinary citizens. So, our ability to stay informed and be able to do something in the case of attack. So I would say rather the question is not about wherever the system is ready, but wherever we are ready. And with that, I guess I'm finishing my speech. Thank you very much.